Hey, what's going on, guys? So the Max Factory Strike Dog is one kit that I've really been looking forward to checking out, so cannot wait to get this kit built up. As you can see, pretty big box here too. It's a good size box, the 124 scale model kit here of the Armored Trooper Votoms Strike Dog, and just check out that box art too. Really cool. Let's check out the box and then the contents, and then we'll take a look at the kit here for today's video. Let's get started. So let's start off here by just admiring this awesome box art here. I love the fact that it's a nice big box. We get some nice big beautiful box artwork here on the front, looking really cool with the Strike Dog there on these steps. You get this really cool action scene, some text at the top and bottom, and the Votoms 40th anniversary logo right there as well. On the ends of the box, you got kind of the same thing here. It's part of the Plamax line in 1/24th scale. Flipping this around to the other side, it's the same thing there. On this side of the box, we got some vertical images here showing what the built and painted kit is going to look like, along with the 1/24 scale character figure that we're going to have included here as well. And there you can see it front and back. Down here, there's a little bit about, I guess this is the 1993 version of this model kit, so that's pretty interesting, kind of a little bit about that. And this is also a recreation of that box art there too, which is really cool. And around on the other side of the kit, we can see some more detailed images of the built and painted kit on the inside there, showing the cockpit, showing some of the features of the claw arm there, the backpack, some of the movement of these like thrusters there on the backpack, and again, a larger image of the painted pilot character figure that's also included. So let's get this thing popped open, and I've heard a lot of great things about this kit, so I'm really excited about this one. Really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very cool. So we've got our pilot character right there, and even though this is 1/24 scale, it definitely looks like basically 1/20 scale. I know it's not that much of a difference, but we'll take a look at all of the runners in just a moment. First off, let's just check out the instruction manual, which features the same artwork there on the front. On the back side, reference images for the color and marking guides. So color guide for the main kit and for the pilot character Ypsilon, and then where all the markings are going to go on that there as well. It looks like in typical Good Smile Company, Max Factory, Plamax fashion, the entirety of the manual is going to all be in color, which is great, and some really cool stuff in here. So starting off on the front inside pages, we have a bunch more images of the kit as well as some supporting information. Everything's going to be in Japanese, but here's some cool information on like the history of this Strike Dog build there, this older issue of Hobby Japan. Kind of a little bit about the designing of this kit there, which looks pretty cool. The next page has our parts list, and then we're into the construction. Yeah, all the construction is going to be here in full color, which is awesome. I love that. It just makes it so much easier. So that's really nice. And then here on our center fold-out pages, a talk room kind of interview or kind of article here with Max-san, Max Watanabe, and then a couple of other guys here who I'm not too familiar with, but if you guys know, you can let me know. Otherwise, I can just get out my translator phone app. And anyway, a couple more guys there who are, I guess, part of the history of the Votoms series and modeling, I would suppose, but I'm sure that's pretty interesting. And then here we've got some dev notes with some really nice line art illustrations, like mechanical illustrations here for some of the different parts of the design. So that's really cool. And let's see, next is just going to be the continuation of the construction on to the end, where we've just got like kind of final assembly of the weapons and the pilot character figure there, and that's it. So really cool stuff. In here we do also have some waterslide decals and some really nice looking waterslide decals here in white and yellow primarily, but then you also have some bits in red for inside the cockpit there, some different color parts, some decals like for the eye cameras, and this big Strike Dog logo decal that you could put like on a base or something. If you're going to put this on a display base, you could put that on there. So really cool stuff. Really nice to have this included in there as well. All right, let's get into the runners, as we got some really cool stuff going on here with this one. First of all, no poly caps or anything. We do have this, I guess we could call it a runner. It's a single piece there for the bazooka, but as you can see, a single solid piece. We won't have any seam lines, at least on this part anyway, which is awesome. So we'll just have to cut that off there. And runner A is going to be our first of many blue runners here, as the majority of this kit is in this really nice blue color. Runner B is going to be here in a molded silver for some really nice details on that. And then runners C and D, some more larger blue armor pieces here. Runner C and then runner D we have two of. You can start to see on these parts how we have just a lot of really nice detail on these, which is going to look really good. Runner E is going to be all of our clear parts, and there's a good amount of little clear parts that we're going to use for this, so that's really nice. Runners F and G are going to be our other parts for the bazooka. It looks like we are going to have some seam lines probably probably on these parts. I'll see how they fit together, but you can get a sense of just how big this is going to be too, quite large. Runner H is going to be all of our parts here for the pilot character figure here, looking really nice. Some really nice detail on here. It is molded in a flesh tone color. Oh, there's very little of this that is actually meant to be like an actual skin tone, I think, other than the face maybe. But Runner I here is back to some more blue armor pieces, again with a lot of really nice detail on there. And for Runner J here's where it starts to get really interesting. Aside from all these blue armor pieces, if you look up here, molded on the top, there is some little detail parts that you can slice off of here and glue onto the kit for adding some additional like rivet details. We've got those in 3 different sizes, so you just kind of slice that off very carefully with a blade, and then you can just glue it on. So those look really nice. But if you notice here on Runner K, we have some more up here, and aside from just rivet detail parts, these are other different types of little detail parts, like little vents and sort of other little, I'm not exactly sure what they're necessarily supposed to be, but little optional detail parts that you can just slice off the runner here and add onto the kit for some added detail. Really, really cool. Runner L is some more blue parts there with, again, a lot of great detail on there. And then for the last of our blue parts, we've got 2 of Runner M and 2 of Runner N, and you can see on the side of Runner N, we've got more rivet detail parts on there. So even if you don't end up using these on this kit, you can just save those for adding details to other kits as well. So really awesome to have those included. Next up for Runners O and P, we've got these in a molded dark silver. We've got 2 of Runner O there, 1 of Runner P for some joint type parts, mechanical parts. This looks really nice in this color of molded silver. And lastly, Runners Q, R, and S. Q in a dark gray there for some internal parts, R in the brown for some parts for the pilot's chair there basically. And then Runner S is also in a dark gray, and you can see at the top of Runner S, we've got some more of those detail parts that you can slice off of there and use on this as well. So some really cool stuff on the runners for sure, making me even that much more excited about this kit. Let me go ahead and get this built up and we'll check it out. Alright guys, and here is the kit all built up. So nice, so impressive. If you guys are a Votoms fan, you definitely really should check out this kit. Super, super cool. And this is something that you guys may know if you've been watching my channel for a long time. Votoms is not something that I have a ton of experience with, as in like watching the anime or anything. It's just not a franchise that I've really typically been that interested in compared to something like Gundam, for example. But in recent years, and especially with the 40th anniversary, we've just got some fantastic kits, and it's really never been a better time to get into Votoms, just with all the really amazing kits that we're getting, from Waves 124 scale Scope Dog kit to this kit here from Max Factory now, and then Max Factory's Bloodsucker kit, which recently released as well, which I'll definitely be taking a look at in the near future also, which I assume is going to be very similar to this one. But there's a lot to like about this kit. Not necessarily a ton of accessories, but some really cool stuff here, so let's go ahead and get into it. So obviously the first and main accessory we're going to have here is the bazooka, which I've just got in hand, and you do have a dedicated trigger finger hand for holding that. You see here the hand is made with a little bit of a bent wrist to be able to hang on to the handle of the bazooka. You do have this like auxiliary handle here at the front for doing a two-handed grip. I don't think that's really necessarily going to be possible with just the range of posability that you have with this. We'll get into talking a little bit more about the articulation here in just a little bit, but we also just don't really have a proper hand part for that either, or a proper hand, I guess, for that matter, just considering that the other side is a claw hand. But just to go ahead and remove that here momentarily, it's pretty large and pretty hefty, but super cool design. I mean, it's going to be fairly simple at first glance in terms of like the details, but like with the rest of the kit, when you take a closer look, you can see you just have a lot of really fantastic details here, from like the texture kind of on the front handle there, going back to just like these little rivet details going around on the outside there. So a lot of really nice subtle details around on the entirety of the kit. As for our other hand options though, we do have this open expressive hand like this, again really nicely detailed. We've got this just open resting hand, and then we've got just a regular closed fist, so you can use any of those there, all for the right side, of course. Then we've got an optional part up here in the head, up underneath the visor. If you lift that up, if you wanted that to be entirely closed up, you've got this part here that you can put in there if you want. I just left that out because I don't really need that, but if for whatever reason you did want to include that, you can keep that part in there. And speaking of included parts, obviously I haven't put the clear parts in, so we have all of our clear parts for like here on the front, up here on the camera array. So their clear parts go here on the shoulder and the backpack and the back of the head. So you have all these clear parts that will look really nice, but I'm saving those for once the kit is actually all fully painted, just because some of these are just going to be more difficult to get out once they're installed. And while we're here on the back, if you didn't want to use the backpack, which you have some nice detail underneath there, that's going to be covered up by the backpack, but you have just these regular like hook parts there, and there's one for each side. that would be just for like kind of the standard backside of the AT when the backpack is not on there. But the backpack, of course, looks really cool and has some, again, nice articulated thruster bells here on the back. And we'll talk more about the articulation of the rest of the kit, but just while we're here, those actually work quite nicely here on the backpack. Other than that, just a reminder, you do have the 1/24 scale pilot figure, which I've not put together just because you need to glue and paint this and everything, but that'll look nice once it's all said and done. And then all of our great detail up parts that, again, I feel like it's worth mentioning just because these can really be useful for adding a lot of details to your kit. So just to kind of quickly go through those again there. Last thing I will mention is that you do have this leftover part, which according to the manual, it says not to use this, but this is basically for replacing the arm. We take off the arm below the shoulder there. This is meant to go on here, I believe, like that. For like a destroyed and damaged arm. You can see some like the internal details there. So I guess it could go for either side. I'm not sure exactly which this was originally meant for. In the manual, it doesn't show it, and it shows it in like the parts list as just a leftover part that you're not meant to use. But you do have that included if you wanted to use that for whatever reason. Now let's talk about the kit here in some more detail. So obviously the camera can move side to side. As you just saw a moment ago, the visor can lift up. We can also open up the entirety of the cockpit here. So with that opened up, you have some really nice full detail inside there that again is going to look super nice when it's all painted up. Now I believe, if I remember correctly, the Wave 1/24 scale scope dog kit, this lower hatch part can also open up, but it's not the case on this kit, so that doesn't open up, only the main cockpit hatch there, but some really nice detail inside. As is the case for all around everywhere on the kit, just all this really nice detail. And again, then you can add more details to it, but even like the underside of these armor flaps, just really nice like truss details underneath there. You can see underneath the front skirts here as well, lots of really nice detail there underneath these side skirt bits like that, and underneath the feet. So everywhere is just packed with loads of really nice detail. So this is definitely going to be a kit that's going to look, I mean, it looks really good straight out of the box. But I mean, if you were to go in and at least do some panel lining and top coat on this, it's going to look even better. I mean, like fully painting this, it's just going to look absolutely fantastic with all these really nice details everywhere. As for the claw arm, which is kind of our other main gimmick of this, these parts do open up, of course, and this part can actually lift up and go to the back like that to reveal this other weapon barrel inside there. And again, just take a moment to appreciate that really nice detail up inside of that part. Super cool. But the other great thing about this kit, especially compared to something like the 1/35 scale kits from Wave, is that it's just much more solid feeling. The Wave 1/35 scale kits are great because they have a lot of detail, but they're a little bit flimsy in hand. Compared to Bandai's HG kits, don't have as much detail, but they're super solid. This one is great because it's larger in size. So we've got a ton of great detail and it's really solid. So that's really nice. But we can move, like just to show you some of the articulation. Now here we have a double joint there in the knee. At the ankles, these are able to move side to side there, as well as up and down. Obviously all the flaps move. And then here at the shoulders, that will move forward and back a little bit. You do have a seam line, not a ton of seam lines. Actually, there's very few seam lines on the kit generally, but there is going to be a little bit here on the shoulder. So it's kind of a shame the shoulder part couldn't have been made as one piece, but there will be a seam line here and here on the shoulder, but that will move a little bit forward and back. There you can kind of pull that out to the front a little bit, and we can bring the arm up and out to the side about 90 degrees to the kit. Double joint in the elbow, but it's still only going to give us about a 90-degree bend, maybe slightly more than that, but not a full bend there. And then the hands are on a ball joint that will allow some movement around like that, and then of course a rotation for those, so pretty nice. And then here for a size comparison, we have the kit compared with its Wave brethren. So it's the 1/35 scale Brutish Dog kit over here from Wave, and the Wave 1/24 scale Scope Dog kit. Now, even though these are both in 1/24 scale, as you can see, the Strike Dog here actually a bit larger, definitely. And I'm not sure if that's canon, if the Strike Dog is like canonically larger than the Scope Dog, or if one of these is like slightly out of scale. I'm not sure the case, but still you can get the sense of how tall this kit is with it coming up to a head height of around 17 centimeters, it looks like. And then speaking of Wave's 1/35 scale series of Votoms kits, I did actually get the Wave 1/35 scale version of the Strike Dog that we'll be taking a look at in a future video, and we can kind of compare compare the two there as well. I'm guessing it's going to be very, very similar to all the rest of their 1/35 scale Votoms kits, but look forward to that review in the future. For now, let's go ahead and finish up this review by taking a look at the kit in a few different poses. Now, although the articulation is pretty good and you can get this kit into some nice poses, I mean, as it is kind of the deal with a lot of the Votoms kits is that, like, I mean, they're not super dynamic posing kits. Basically, you're getting the kits to be able to do a number of like different certain like iconic poses. And I feel like that's not ever really going to be too much of like a deciding factor in like what makes a Votoms kit like good or not. Although they are, like I said, the articulation of this kit is pretty good and the size of it is nice to make for some like nice looking poses with this kit in different poses. But the main thing that I think a lot of people are looking for when looking for a kit like this, like of this particular design, for example, is just like the details, the proportions, maybe the accessories, like what this comes with. But again, even that's going to be, I mean, like you expect it to come with a bazooka and then maybe a couple of hand options, and I don't know what necessarily you would what else you might expect to come with this. Having the included pilot figure is really nice. Having the included detail parts is really nice. I mean, like, I think this kit like really delivers in the best possible way on everything that like you would really hope to expect from a kit of the Strike Dog, and it's just really, really nice. So super awesome kit. Just wanted to make the point that, I mean, like, if you were looking for something that was able to do like anything like much more dynamic in terms of the posability, I just don't think that you're really looking to maybe anything necessarily from the Votoms series. And that said, Bandai's kits, Bandai's HG kits in particular, are a little bit better at that. Obviously, just with that Bandai, engineering technology, they're just not going to have as much in the way of details, which this kit has in spades for sure. So if you're looking for a kit to, really look super nice up on the shelf, like I said before, if that just means, building it up and putting it up on the shelf as is, I think it looks nice. Doing some panel lining on there and some top coat, it's going to look even better. Fully painting this kit, it's going to look absolutely amazing. So something I'm definitely looking forward to working on some more in the future. I've seen some really amazing custom builds of this kit as well, where people add like even more detail. It just looks absolutely fantastic. So definitely some great inspiration there. If you guys check out like on Twitter, you can see some really, really nice builds of this kit. But it's awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the Bloodsucker very soon, as it's going to be very similar to this, just with obviously some different parts and different color scheme and all that. But it should be a fairly similar kit, so we'll take a look at that. And then, like I said, the 1/35 scale version of the Strike Dog as well. So more awesome Votoms stuff to come. Looking forward to it. Hope that you guys are as well. If you want to check out some of the model kits for yourself, check out the link in the video description down below to USA Gundam Store. Lots of great stuff on there, Votoms and otherwise, for you guys to check out. And as always, thanks so much for all of your support. Leaving a like, making sure that you're subscribed. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, hope you guys are all having a great day. See y'all later. Bye, guys.